be about treating others how you want to be treated, and how sometimes it's really hard to actually live that and to actually be like that. And I am 100% guilty of not always treating others the way I want to be treated. And there's a million examples of this, you know. I'm not gonna give you a ton, because I mean, we all can think of examples in our lives when we treated someone poorly and there was no reason for it, and it was wrong, right? And that you would have hated if someone treated you that way. But I'll start it off and I'll give you one shameful example from my own life where I treated other people poorly and I shouldn't have done it. And I would hope other people wouldn't treat me the same way. And this example involves my own family. I treated my mom and dad and my sister not very well for the stupidest reason ever. So I was a little kid. I was young. I wasn't that young, right? I wasn't a little kid. I was like, it's probably 17, 16, 15, somewhere in there. 15 to maybe, like, we'll say 14 to 17, somewhere in there. Old enough that it was completely inappropriate, and young enough that I was stupid enough to act like it and think I was right? And I was wrong, right? So everything in this I was wrong about. So, and it's kind of shameful for me to talk about it, but you know, when my sister graduated high school, she wanted to go on a trip somewhere, and we weren't super rich. You know, my dad was an aircraft mechanic, and in 2008, when the recession hit after 9/11, everything, the airlines were doing terrible, and he was at TWA that got bought by American Airlines. He was working at the overhaul base in Kansas City, and he got laid off. Or he didn't, oh sorry, let me correct that. He didn't get laid off. He left for a job he did not want, and then next week found out if he didn't retire theoretically after 20-something years of being there, that he would have lost his job. So he would have been laid off a week later or a month later or something like that if he didn't leave. And so my dad paid for us all to go on a cruise. We flew down to Miami. I think we flew non-rev down there the day before, and then my mom booked us a hotel. And my mom is the worst hotel booker on the face of the earth. She got us a disgusting place with literal bugs on the bed. I mean, it was pretty bad. Probably one of the worst hotels I've ever seen. It was a neat looking room if it would have been actually clean and not disgusting, and I didn't think I would get murdered. But so we complained, and I think we stayed there one night, and then we switched hotels. We literally went and told them it was so bad, there's bugs everywhere. We took pictures, showed them. They're like, we'll just give you a refund. And we went and got like a Best Western hotel. And so I was kind of super irritated about that, but I was having fun in Miami, you know, and I was like, oh, this is a cool place. It was a different place back then, you know, than it is now, back in like 2017, 2015. And then we went on a cruise, and I get on the cruise, and suddenly I realized, what kind of vacation is this? I'm trapped. I'm like a super hyperactive human. And I realized, what kind of vacation is this where I'm trapped on a boat? It's like locking me in the closet and telling me to have a good time. Like I like panicked, and I was like, this is terrible. And so I complained and I whined, and I was like, what are we supposed to be doing? And then, you know, I ride motorcycles, I fly airplanes for a living, I'm an airline pilot, I like exercising, I love working on cars, motorcycles, I stay super busy all the time. You know, I have a really hard time as a Christian taking a day off and resting on like the Sabbath. Like I cannot stay at home. I can't even sit around all day, otherwise I get like a headache. I have to do stuff, otherwise my body like freaks out. And so I complained, and I was whining, and I was miserable most of the trip. I'd say like at least 50% of the trip I was miserable. And I still somewhat enjoyed it, I guess, and some things were fun, but then it's like my mom, we'd go to these Virgin Islands, right? Super neat places on the, like, get off, and all she would go do is look at these stupid souvenir shops with junk the whole time. And we didn't go do anything, and I never thought, maybe it's because my parents didn't have the money, you know, to go do something like that, or to pay to go to these cool activities. So we just walked around at stupid souvenir shops, and I got super annoyed. And I was like, why are we even on vacation when we just go into the same souvenir shop that sells pretty much the same thing as the last 20 we were just at? And so I got annoyed, and I was acting bad. And I never really think I said sorry to my parents for it or whatever else, but I acted like a jerk the whole time, and there was no reason to do that. And then I grew up and I got older, and I kind of got hindsight. I thought about that. I thought about like my most shameful things one time. I was like, man, My parents really paid and took me on a nice vacation, and I just whined and complained. What a brat. I mean, what a jerk. That was me, and I shouldn't have done that. It's like, imagine if you took your kids and you didn't have a ton of money and you're working a job you didn't want to work so your kids could stay at the same school and keep their same friends, and you wouldn't have to sell the house and move somewhere that was crappy and all this, and then you finally take your family on a vacation and your kid complains and whines the whole time that they don't like it. I mean, what a jerk. It's genuinely shameful for me to even think that I acted like that. And so, geez, it blew a tire. And so I look at my life now and I just think, you know, I wouldn't want some of my kids to do that, treat me like that. You know, if I had that same situation, I wouldn't want to be treated like that. I'd want my kid to, even if they hated it, just to pretend they liked it, because I worked so hard to, you know, spend the money to do that. I didn't treat my dad or my mom that way, and it was totally wrong of me, right? That's super crappy. And it doesn't even have to be that. It could just be while you're driving, you cut someone off because you're in a rush, and maybe they're having a bad day, and you just made their day one more thing to pile on to a crappy day, right? Don't do that to people. Just think about that. Everyone, you know, people can have bad days. People don't all have good days, and it's not always about you. You know, that's one of the biggest things. When you start living life like it's not always about you, just shutting your mouth and trying to enjoy something when you absolutely hate it, you know, that's part of life. And sometimes, yeah, while you shutting your mouth is way less worse than how you would make, and just suffering a little bit is way less worse than how you make someone else feel by complaining about whatever the situation is. You know, if your friend's car breaks down on the side of the road, he's probably having a horrible day, then you complaining to him, telling his car's crappy, you know, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever it could be. It could just be not holding the door for someone. It could be anything. Just apply it to your own life and realize that treat others the way you want to be treated. You know, God treated us super well. He came here, lived, died on the cross for us, rose from the grave, says he's going to come back and judge us, and he's faithful to forgive, and he has mercy that he's just freely going to let our sins go. If we just trust in him and live life how he told us to, we have all eternity with him. I mean, how easy is that? We literally got let off the hook. People talk about modern people and women and guys not liking accountability. You hardly have to take accountability for the evilness of the life you've lived, when all you have to do is essentially try to be a good person and believe in Jesus, and suddenly he's willing and faithful to forgive your sins. You know, and you got to truly follow him with your heart and believe in it, and everything else, live your life according to how he wanted you to. But what a get out of jail free card. I mean, in my personal opinion, that's crazy that you would be that good to us. I would not be that good to someone, you know. There's so many things in my life that I look back that if I did the same, if someone treated me the way I treated them, I would have slapped them across the face probably. And much less if I was Jesus and I looked at how evil humanity was, maybe I'd just throw them all away. Maybe I wouldn't even be as good as Jesus was, right? Jesus did it for you, so, and he suffered. You know, what did he gain from that? He gained friends, love, whatever. Maybe nothing, really. Like, we're his creation. He didn't, I don't know, take it as you want, but Jesus could have just created a whole new set of humans. God did. He didn't have to do what he did, but he did it. And so no matter what, no matter to what detriment you have to do something to make someone else's life better, let's say you live the most miserable life on earth, well, your reward's in heaven. Who cares? You know, who cares? It's 100 years. Imagine 100 years kicked up to like 1 trillion years. It's nothing. You know, treat others how you want to be treated, and don't expect in return. Don't do something good for someone and then think you deserve anything out of it. You know, you deserve to go to hell. It doesn't matter how many good things you do. You deserve to go to hell. It doesn't matter how good you try to treat people. You deserve to go to hell. Remember that. Remember where you deserve to be. And remember that someone was kind enough and cared enough about you to suffer on a cross and die and be brutalized by stupid, evil people, and that killed him. And now he's alive and he's faithful to forgive. And his last crying out was, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. That's what Jesus said on the cross. You know, apply that to your own life. Maybe when someone does something wrong to you, or your kid or your teacher or whatever, whoever it is in your life does something wrong to you, just think, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. You know, someone could say a small comment to you and it could really hurt your feelings, really mess you up. Maybe they don't know that. Maybe they don't know. And so you should forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. Look how beautiful that is. You know, God's beautiful creation. He gave you this. You could just go walk around next to a lake, walk around on the side of the road, enjoy the beauty of the world that God created. You don't have to have a motorcycle. You don't have to have a boat like those people out there. You can just enjoy the awesomeness of God's earth. And even on your worst day ever, you know, I get more satisfaction out of treating other people good, doing other good things for other people than I do for myself. And I truly do. You know, you try it in your life. Just do something nice for someone with no thank you. You know, don't expect even a thank you. Expect them to do something nice for them and then to turn around and punch you in the face and flip you off. You'll still feel better that you did something nice for that person than, you know, getting $100 or whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. It's how I feel. And you know, life is so short. It doesn't matter. Just things don't matter. You know, what does it really matter? Look at the stars in the sky. Look at this big beautiful lake and this awesome area. What does it matter that someone cuts you off? Just forgive them, move on, whatever. You know, take it to whatever you want. Take those examples and spread them across anything and everything in your life. Jesus treated you good. You can treat others good. You know, think about all that he did for you. Surely you can forgive someone's small mistakes on a daily basis based off that someone gave up their life for you. You know, they suffered for you. And now Jesus is alive and he hears you and he listens to your prayers and he cares about you and he loves you and he's still around. Remember, so treat Jesus, treat God like you'd want him to treat you too, you know. Thank him for all that he's done. Don't just ask. Give your praise and glory to him. Serve other people. The Bible says you can directly bless the face of God by blessing other people and being kind to others and doing things for the poor and everything else. And you're doing good things for God by doing good things for others. So think about that. All right, pulling into Lake City, and this is gonna be a beautiful ride. I love this area in Minnesota. I can't stand Minnesota for some reasons, but compared to Kansas where I live, I work up here and I live in Kansas, so I go between the two. But where I keep my motorcycle up here because the riding's so much better and there's so many more places to ride up north and all. It's a beautiful place. So I'm enjoying my day. I'm glorifying God, talking about him while I'm living this beautiful day. And you know, hopefully you know, treat others how you want to be treated. The whole reason I make this motovlog is when I was coming to Jesus, I was having such a hard time. I literally thought, I looked up, because I like motorcycle, I couldn't even listen to the Bible or something. I was so stupid and messed up. I said, motovlog's talking about Jesus. And there were none. I couldn't find any. So the whole reason I make these is because if one guy like me goes out there struggling in life, trying to find Jesus, and they look up motovlogs that talk about Jesus, here they are. Now they're on this channel. So I wish someone else would have done it for me, but instead I got off the couch and I decided to do it for myself or for other people. So now other people can, you know, be out there and find this chance to come to Jesus easier. Alright guys, that'll be it for today. Leave any comments, questions, and I will respond to them. Hope you enjoyed the beautiful views in this ride out here. And I'll try to respond or make a video about whatever you guys comment or whatever else. Alright, that's it for today guys. I'll see ya.